Chapter 1: The Phantom Architecture of Spirit. What is the soul's blueprint? What if your life is not a random sequence of events, but a pattern inscribed in the invisible? What if your soul carried a design, a map formed beyond time, beyond matter, beyond even thought? This is not fate in the traditional sense, nor is it a fixed destiny. It is something far more sacred, subtle, and precise. The soul's blueprint. The ancients knew this. Long before modern psychology and quantum physics, seers and sages whispered of a higher design woven into the essence of being. They called it different names: the Akasha, the Book of Life, the Scrolls of Light. But the essence was the same. Your soul chose, long before this incarnation, a trajectory of growth. Not a path of ease, but a path of meaning. Not punishment, but preparation. But where does this blueprint come from? And why does no one dare explain it? The truth is, the blueprint is encoded in vibration. Everything in this universe is frequency. Your thoughts, your emotions, your body, even your name are vibrations shaped into form. The soul's blueprint is no exception. It is a vibrational code, inscribed in the field of consciousness before birth, shaped by your soul's previous lifetimes, unresolved lessons, sacred desires, and cosmic agreements. This is not predestination. It is not some celestial checklist. It is more like music, a symphony with a theme, a rhythm, and a hidden purpose. You can improvise within it. You can even ignore it, but the resonance will always call you back. From the silence before incarnation, your soul gathers intention. It selects the major themes, the archetypes it will embody, the wounds it will heal, the gifts it will awaken. It chooses the timing of birth, the ancestral line, the physical body, and the early traumas that will catalyze awakening. Even the obstacles are part of the design. This is why certain experiences feel eerily familiar, why some relationships seem destined, while others repeat the same pain, why you are drawn to particular places, ideas, or symbols. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of the blueprint, but society trains you to forget. From the moment you are born, you are taught that identity is formed from the outside: name, nationality, religion, education. You are told who you are, what you should want, how success is measured. The inner knowing is silenced, and the blueprint becomes a ghost, barely sensed beneath the noise. Yet it never disappears. It speaks through dreams, synchronicities, illnesses, intuition. It whispers in moments of stillness, in heartbreak, in the uncanny feeling that you are meant for more. Calls you through longing and through loss. And when you ignore it long enough, life itself begins to unravel, not as punishment, but as invitation. The system fears this knowledge, because when you remember that you have a blueprint, you reclaim your power. You begin to see beyond the illusion of randomness. You stop outsourcing truth to institutions and start listening inward. You realize that purpose is not something you chase, but something you remember. And here is the paradox. The blueprint is not fixed. It is responsive. It shifts as your awareness shifts. It expands with your courage. It deepens with your surrender. You are not a puppet of divine design. You are a co-creator with it. You are the pen and the parchment, the melody and the musician. This is why no one dares explain it. Because once you truly understand the blueprint, you cannot go back to sleep. You cannot pretend life is meaningless. You cannot unsee the synchronicities or ignore the sacred geometry of your suffering. The architecture of your soul begins to reveal itself, and with it, the terrifying, beautiful truth: you chose this. Not the details, not the trauma, but the themes, the energies, the archetypal lessons. You chose to forget so that remembering would transform you. You chose limitation so that freedom would not just be inherited, but earned. You chose to fall asleep so that your awakening would be real. The blueprint is not a prophecy. It is a mirror. It reflects who you are beneath conditioning, beneath fear, beneath the masks you wear to survive. It is not there to dictate, but to guide. Not to control, but to illuminate. It reveals the inner architecture you brought with you, the resonance you are here to embody, and the notes only your soul can play. And it all begins with a question not of belief, but of remembrance. What is calling you home? Let this question guide you as we move deeper into the origin of your soul's design. Because this is just the beginning. The blueprint is not a concept. It is a living code, awaiting your attention, your devotion, and your awakening. The truth is not hidden. It is veiled in the silence you have not yet dared to enter. But once you listen, you will find that the soul's blueprint was never lost, only forgotten. Chapter 2. Before birth, who designs your path? Before the breath, before the name, before the first cry echoed through the womb, your soul was already in motion, not floating randomly in a void, but immersed in a sacred process, a choosing. There exists a realm unbound by time or gravity, known in the ancient tongues as the Hall of Records, the Temple of Memory, the Akasha. Here, the soul meets its council, a circle not of judges, but of witnesses, not of punishment, but of remembrance. Together, you look across lifetimes. You observe the patterns you've repeated, the karmic threads still tangled, the gifts still buried in silence. And then a map begins to take form, not imposed, but chosen. This is the origin of the blueprint. The soul is not coerced. It is not trapped. It is sovereign. And it selects the constellation of its next incarnation with trembling precision. Who will be your mother? Your father? What kind of body will you enter? What traumas will shape your psyche? What love will break you open? These are not punishments. They are agreements. In the language of spirit, growth is the highest aim. And sometimes growth requires fire. You may choose a lineage with deep ancestral pain, not to suffer endlessly, but to be the one who transforms it. You may choose a body with limits, not as a curse, but as a way to deepen empathy or redirect your awareness inward. You may choose betrayal, heartbreak, even illness, not because you deserve them, but because the alchemy they catalyze is sacred. But these choices are not made lightly. They are made in resonance with soul contracts, pacts formed with other souls who agree to meet you in key moments. Some will challenge you, some will ignite you, some will simply remind you who you are when you've forgotten. This pre-birth design is dynamic, not rigid. You are not locked into a script. You carry potentials, trajectories, invitations. The blueprint does not dictate every event. It offers archetypal themes. It outlines the soul's intention, not the ego's reaction. This is why you sometimes feel the ache of recognition when encountering a stranger, or why dreams echo with landscapes you've never seen. or why certain lessons return in different forms, again and again, until they're embodied. The physical world is the theater, but the script is vibrational. Most people never remember this choosing. The veil of incarnation is dense. It is meant to protect the integrity of the experience. If you remembered too much too soon, the game would dissolve. But the clues are always there, in your childhood fascinations, in the traumas that shape your deepest fears, in the people you cannot explain, but feel you have known forever. These are the breadcrumbs, the signs, the echoes of a path not yet walked, but already known. And as you awaken, the design begins to shimmer through the cracks. Synchronicities intensify. Dreams become lucid. You begin to feel the presence of your own counsel, whispering reminders in the silence. The soul, once buried beneath survival, begins to steer. This is the sacred return, to the self who chose, to the wisdom before words, to the blueprint before breath. And in that remembrance, your life stops being a problem to solve and becomes a mystery to embody. Not everything is revealed at once. The map unfolds as you walk it. But know this, nothing in your life is random. The soul does not waste pain. Every chapter was chosen for its potential to open you. The question is not, why is this happening to me? But, what part of me chose this and why? Let this question guide you deeper into the spiral. Because the path was not imposed. It was yours all along. Chapter 3, Vibrational Signatures and the Meaning of Events. There are moments in life that resist logic. Glance across a room that feels like recognition. A song playing at the exact moment your heart breaks. The same numbers following you across days. These are not accidents. They are signatures, and they mean something. The soul does not speak in sentences. It speaks in symbols, in patterns, in vibration. Every experience you encounter carries a frequency, and every frequency is an echo of your soul's blueprint. The blueprint is not just a design, it is a living resonance, one that attracts, mirrors, and choreographs your reality in ways too subtle for the mind to grasp, but too precise to deny. Why do you keep attracting the same type of person? Why does the same fear surface in different clothes? Why do certain places feel like home and others drain your spirit? Because these are vibrational messages. Your thoughts are frequencies. Your emotions are frequencies. Every belief, conscious or not, emits a signal. And the universe, ever intelligent, ever responsive, arranges reality around you in response to your vibration. This is not punishment. This is feedback. When an event repeats, it is not because you are cursed. It is because the energy within you remains unresolved. The frequency still hums, and until it changes, it will continue to summon lessons that vibrate in harmony with it. This is the hidden mercy in suffering. Pain is not a failure. It is a frequency that says, "Notice me, heal me, liberate me." Your soul chose themes before birth, but those themes are activated, explored, and integrated through real experiences. And experiences follow energy. This is why intention matters. This is why presence matters. This is why self-awareness is not luxury, but necessity. Because the more conscious you are of your vibration, the more consciously you co-create your path. But most people are on autopilot, running inherited programs, reacting from wounds, transmitting confusion into the field. And life responds with matching static. Synchronicities begin when clarity emerges. Not because the universe starts paying attention, it always has, but because you finally notice the dialogue. You finally decode the signs. You start to realize that your life is not a monologue, but a conversation. The universe is not testing you. It is tuning you. And the moment you align with a new frequency, your outer world adjusts. People fall away. Opportunities appear. Doors open. This is not magic. It is resonance. Everything in creation responds to vibration. The ancients knew this. They spoke in mantras, in chants, in symbols and geometry. They designed temples not as monuments, but as frequency chambers. They understood that the outer is shaped by the inner, always. You are doing the same. Your body is a tuning fork, your heart an amplifier, your soul a conductor of energy that moves through dimensions. This is why mindfulness is sacred, why healing is revolutionary, because every time you shift your frequency, you shift the path. Not only for yourself, but for every soul connected to your field. So when events repeat, ask, what is the frequency I am still emitting? What belief, fear, or desire is calling this into my life? Not to blame, but to become aware, because awareness is what alters the signal. Your soul's blueprint includes these lessons, these echoes, these reflections, but not to trap you, to teach you how energy flows, how thoughts become things, how the invisible shapes the visible. And in time you learn, patterns are not prisons, they are teachers. Repetition is not failure, it is refinement, and vibration is not metaphor, it is the mechanism. This is how meaning is born from experience. Through the music of the unseen. You are not a victim of your patterns. You are their composer. And the moment you truly understand this, you can begin to change the song. Not through willpower alone, but through presence, through truth, through resonance with what is real, what is loving, what is aligned. Because every event, no matter how painful, is an invitation to retune, to vibrate differently, to choose again, to remember who you are beneath the static. This is not self-help. This is soul help. This is how the soul's blueprint speaks, in frequencies, in echoes, in invitations masked as patterns. And it waits patiently, not for perfection, but for the moment you finally ask, what is this trying to show me? Ask and the signal shifts. Ask and the path begins to transform. Because your vibration is not just part of your reality. It is the blueprint of it. Chapter 4, Illusion of Freedom or Freedom of Choice. If your soul came with a blueprint, then what about free will? This is the question that haunts philosophers and mystics alike. Are we merely actors reading from a divine script, or are we authors of our fate? The answer is not either or. It is both. And the truth lies not in the extremes, but in the dance between them. Your soul's blueprint is not a contract. It is a canvas. Before incarnation, your soul chooses the themes, the arcs, the invitations. It chooses growth, challenge, potential. But how you meet those themes, that is entirely yours. You are not here to be controlled. You are here to choose. Every moment of awareness is a doorway. Every choice, a paint stroke on the masterpiece that is your life. The blueprint may outline the major constellations, but it is your free will that navigates the stars. And yet, most people mistake conditioning for choice. What you call your will is often a program, a pattern inherited from family, society, survival. You think you are choosing freely, but the script is ancient and unconscious. This is not freedom. This is repetition. True freedom begins with awareness. It begins when you question your impulses, your reactions, your habits. When you realize that much of your life has been spent rehearsing someone else's story. That is the moment choice becomes real. Free will is not random. It is aligned. When you act from soul, you are not rebelling against the blueprint. You are fulfilling it consciously. And that fulfillment often requires courage. Because to choose freely means to risk, to defy expectation, to stand in truth. It means letting go of old roles and sometimes old relationships. It means listening to the quiet voice inside, even when the world gets loud. But here is the paradox. The more you align with your blueprint, the freer you feel. Not because life becomes easy, but because it becomes yours. The weight lifts, the fog clears, and every step begins to feel like remembrance. You realize that destiny is not a prison. It is a promise your soul made to itself, not to control your life, but to hold a sacred direction. A North Star, a resonance. When you follow that resonance, doors open. When you ignore it, life becomes heavy, resistant, fragmented. Not because you're being punished, but because you're out of sync with your own design. You were not meant to follow someone else's map. You came here to remember your own. And once you begin to remember, choice becomes a sacred act. Not just a decision, a declaration of alignment. I choose to remember. I choose to evolve. I choose to walk the path my soul already knows. This is the hidden grace of the blueprint. It is not a limit. It is a guide. It is not a rule. It is a rhythm. And the more you dance with it, the more alive you feel. Because freedom is not the absence of direction. Freedom is choosing the direction your soul already longs for. You have not been trapped. You have been invited to remember, to choose, to walk your path with eyes open, heart awake, and will attune to the sacred. So when you ask, do I really have a choice? The answer is yes. And it's the most powerful truth you can ever embody. Yes, you are free. And that freedom, when fused with awareness, becomes the fire that illuminates the path ahead, not as a command, but as a calling. The blueprint whispers, but only you can choose to follow. Chapter 5: How to Remember Your Path, Practices, and Signs. Not all memories live in the mind. Some are held in the body. Some are etched into the dreams that come at dawn. Others live in the space between thoughts, in the silence beneath the noise. The soul's blueprint, too, is not remembered by thinking. It is remembered by tuning. But how do you tune into something you cannot see? How do you remember a map that was chosen in a realm before time? The key is resonance, not logic, not effort, but vibration. To remember your path is to align your frequency with your soul's original intention. And that begins with awareness. Start with your patterns. What themes recur in your life? What lessons repeat in new disguises? What relationships feel karmic, intense, or inexplicably faded? These are not just experiences. They are signals, clues, portals to deeper remembrance. The blueprint reveals itself in repetition. Each pattern is an echo, inviting you to resolve what was left unfinished, to see what was once unconscious, to choose what was once reactive. You don't need to analyze your entire life. You need to feel what your life is already trying to show you. Then return to the body. Your body is not just flesh. It is memory. It holds the frequency of your soul's design. When you slow down, breathe, listen, the body speaks. Through sensation, through emotion, through intuition. The more you reconnect with your body, the more your path begins to whisper back. Stillness is a forgotten language. We live in a world that rewards noise, speed, distraction. But the blueprint is subtle. It doesn't shout. It waits for silence. In meditation, in nature, in the pauses between striving, create space, sacred space, a place where you can meet yourself beyond identity, beyond role, beyond expectation. This could be a quiet room, a forest path, the moments before sleep. What matters is not the place, but your presence within it. You don't need a special ritual, just sincerity. Ask your soul, what have I forgotten? What wants to be remembered? What is the next step I cannot yet see? And then listen, without expectation, without demand. The answers may come in feelings, images, dreams, or synchronicities. Speaking of dreams, they are one of the most direct pathways to the blueprint. In dreams, the conscious mind steps aside. The soul speaks. Pay attention to symbols, to repeating motifs, to places you've never seen yet feel familiar. Keep a journal by your bed. Record everything, even if it makes no sense. Over time, patterns will emerge. The same is true for synchronicities. These are not random. They are alignments, winks from the universe, messages from your higher self. When something improbable repeats, a number, a name, a phrase, pause. Ask what it means. Ask what it wants to awaken. Symbols are the soul's alphabet. If certain animals, numbers, or ancient symbols appear to you often, investigate their meaning. Not from a book, but from within. What do they stir? What do they echo in you? Sometimes the path remembers you before you remember it. You feel drawn to something you can't explain. A spiritual teaching, a sacred site, a healing practice. Follow the pull. This is the blueprint activating. Energy work can also help. Practices like breath work, sound healing, Reiki, and certain forms of yoga can help dissolve the static and restore vibrational clarity. The more you clear stagnant energy, the more the original resonance of your soul emerges. And then there is the Akashic Records, not as a mystical library in the clouds, but as a field of consciousness you can access through deep meditation or guided intention. Many spiritual teachers offer techniques to tune into this frequency, but the gateway is always the same: sincerity, stillness, and readiness. You do not have to force access. You simply align. But remember, the blueprint is not about control. It's about coherence. It's not a map to conquer. It's a song to remember. And like music, you feel it before you understand it. So be patient. Be gentle with yourself. Remembrance is not a race. It's a rhythm. The more you honor it, the more it reveals. When in doubt, return to this. What brings me alive? What quiets the noise? What feels ancient inside me, though I've just discovered it? These are the signs. These are the threads. These are the breadcrumbs that lead you home. You were never meant to navigate life blindly. The path is within you. The map is vibrational. The soul is waiting, not for perfection, but for attention. The blueprint does not demand belief. It waits for remembrance. And every moment you choose presence over reaction, stillness over noise, intuition over logic, you take a step closer to the design your soul already knows. Remember, you are not here to create your path from nothing. You are here to remember the frequency of who you already are, and walk it step by sacred step into this world. Chapter 6. What hides behind the great silence? Why no one talks about this? If the soul's blueprint is real, if you truly are here by design, if your path was etched in the frequencies of a timeless field, then why is it so hidden? Why don't we talk about it? Why isn't it taught, honored, understood? The answer lies not in absence, but in silence. A silence so deep, so engineered, that it has become part of the very structure of our society. You were born into a system that thrives on forgetting. Forgetting your power, forgetting your origin, forgetting your soul. Because a person who remembers is a person who can no longer be controlled. And control is the currency of the old world. The truth was never destroyed. It was buried, layered under distraction, dogma, ridicule, rewritten in myths, disguised in metaphors, hidden in plain sight. The soul's blueprint is not a secret because it's forbidden. It's a secret because it has been silenced. And yet, it's always speaking. Every time you feel the hollowness of the world, the ache for something real, the unshakable sense that there's more, that's the blueprint trying to awaken. But most people are too busy surviving to listen. That's by design. Modern life is structured to keep you fragmented. Constant stimulation, endless comparison, a culture that celebrates speed and shames stillness. In such a climate, introspection becomes rebellion. But silence is the language of the soul. The blueprint doesn't speak in headlines, speaks in nuance. It whispers through emotion, through the body, through the subtle realms that require presence to perceive. And so the silence deepens, until the moment you decide to listen. This is why awakening can feel like loss, because as you remember your path, you see how deeply you've been trained to forget it. You begin to grieve the years spent chasing someone else's idea of success. You feel the weight of the dreams you abandoned, the intuition you dismissed. But that grief is sacred. It breaks the spell. It softens the noise. It opens the door. And as you walk through it, the silence begins to shift. No longer empty, but alive. No longer oppressive, but fertile. In the great silence, you meet the truth that no one told you. You were never meant to follow. You were meant to remember. Remember that you are not just a citizen, a consumer, a cog in a machine. You are a soul, ancient, wise, radiant. And this world, for all its illusions, is still sacred ground. Yes, the blueprint is hidden. Yes, it's silenced, but not to punish you, to initiate you, because some truths must be discovered, not delivered. If the path were obvious, you wouldn't grow. If the design were loud, you wouldn't listen. The veils serve a purpose. They shape you, and when you pierce them, not with force, but with reverence, you become someone who can hold the truth. This is the secret of the silence. It is not absence. It is presence waiting to be recognized. So ask yourself, what am I afraid to hear in the silence? What part of me resists the stillness? And what would happen if I listened anyway? This is why no one talks about the blueprint. Because to speak of it, to live it, to honor it, is to defy everything we've been taught to obey. It means slowing down. It means tuning in. It means letting go of certainty, of external validation, of the comfort of conformity. It means becoming sovereign. And sovereignty scares systems built on dependency. But your soul is not here to obey. Your soul is here to remember, and in remembering, to reimagine. So let the silence be your sanctuary. Let the forgetting be your fuel. Let the questions guide you home. Because the blueprint is not hiding from you. It is waiting for your readiness, for your courage, for your yes. And once you give it, once you say yes to your own soul, the silence becomes your teacher. And you, at last, begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Not as an idea, not as a fantasy, but as a living, breathing, vibrating truth. Your path was never lost, only silenced. And now, it is time to listen again.